I'm continuing the series, Selfless, right? Selfless, a new year, less me, right? The saying is a new year, a new me, but not us, not as Christians, not as Christ followers, a new year, less me. Now, have you ever found yourself always wishing for the next season of life while you're slowly and hard working through the current season? You're just wishing for the next season of life to come. Let me give you an example. When I was in college, you know the college life, you don't know how good you have it in college until you actually get a real job. But in college, you're like, I can't wait till I get a real job. And I make money, and I can make my own decisions, and I don't have to turn in that paper. And one day, college is over, and you got a real job. And you're working long hours, and you're struggling to pay bills. And it's not quite what you thought it was. And so what do you say? For me, when I was working my job, I said, I can't wait until I go into full-time ministry. I felt God was calling me to be a missionary. And when I'm a missionary, then I could do what God has called me to do. And so sure enough, I became a college missionary. I was working at college campuses, and I'm at these college campuses, and I'm visiting and speaking at churches. And this drive in me became that I wanted to be a pastor and preach the gospel, but I wanted to also lead a church in the direction I feel God is calling it, to reach a geographic area like Western New York, to reach a lot of people. And all of a sudden, I'm in college ministry, and I can't stop dreaming and wishing for this next phase of my life, right? I'm doing this, and when I'm the boss, then I could do what I want. When I'm the boss, I will make the right decisions, and people will listen to me. And sure enough, wouldn't you have it, that season's over, and now I'm the boss. I'm here. I'm pastoring a church. I'm leading a church, and I'm doing the same thing. I can't wait to get more staff. I can't wait for this building to finish, to go to the next phase, to do this. And sometimes there's this stress and this frustration and this aggravation and this demand for perfection that comes out of me, and I drive everybody else nuts, and I'm never really happy because I'm always working super hard in my season, just wishing for the next season. But in each season, we find ourselves wishing away the current season of life in anticipation for the next. It happens in your family life, right? How many of you, you're single and you can't wait to find the right person, right? You find them and you're like, I can't wait to get married. Everything will be better when we're married. Thought I'd get more laughs about that one, but everything will be better when we're married, and you get married. Well, I can't wait till we have kids. And then you have your first kid and you think, what were we thinking? Well, it'll be better when they crawl, when they walk, when they're out of diapers, when they go to school. And all of a sudden, we find ourselves wishing away these seasons in anticipation for the next. Every season of life, we can find ourselves missing out on what's happening now because we can't wait for the next thing that's right around the corner. There's that job, that relationship, that raise, that promotion, that possession, that goal to achieve, that success to attain, or even that vacation to take. Yet, when it happens, there's another problem to solve, another goal to achieve, another success to attain right around the corner. I can't tell you how many times this has happened in 2020, right, since COVID. How many times have you said something like this? Well, once COVID is over, right? Well, once people start coming back to church, once things go back to normal, once COVID is over. And I got to be honest, there were times in my life where I was missing out on a unique time in my life to hang out with my family more than ever because I couldn't wait for COVID to be over. And there's times in our lives where we miss out on the right here, the right now, in anticipation for what's happening next. And what happens with many of us in our lives, we're pursuing what we want. We're pursuing my dreams, my passions, my goals. Whatever I get, whatever I can get, I want to get it. And there's always something else out there for me to get, and I have to achieve it, and I have to get there, and it never seems to end. But it's not all our fault, right? It's the culture we live in. It's society. That's what they teach us. Every ad on Facebook, every magazine, every movie, everything social media says, it kind of has this feel to it. Gratify yourselves. You deserve it. Indulge. Get what you want. Do what you want. In fact, there's a phrase in our society, it's called treat yourself. You ever hear that today? Treat yourself. In fact, there's a show I really like, Parks and Rec. I don't know if you ever seen it, but in there they have the scene that perfectly talks about what I'm talking about treat yourself. In fact, our culture tells us to treat yourself. Jesus tells us to deny yourself, right? Jesus says, deny yourself. Jesus said, if you want to be my disciple, don't indulge yourself. Don't gratify yourself. Don't treat yourself, but deny yourself and pick up your cross and follow me. He said, deny yourself first, then pick up your cross, a symbol of dying to your fleshly desires, and then, after that, then you follow me. Listen to what the Apostle Paul said. He said this in 1 Corinthians 10:31, kind of the backbone of the message this morning is this: whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. In whatever you do, now it doesn't say in whatever you do, it doesn't say if you're doing something important. It doesn't say if you're doing something that makes a lot of money. It doesn't say if you're doing something where everybody will notice you, will make you feel better. It says in whatever you do. It says in whether you're picking up the toys, making dinner, picking up the dry cleaning, vacuuming the house, grabbing a cup of coffee for the coworker, putting paper in the printer at the office. In whatever you do, no matter how big or small, you do it for the glory of God. In fact, title of my message this morning is this: grateful in the grind. Selfless. Let's learn to be grateful in the grind. Grateful in the hard work. Is it even possible? What if most of us are missing the true reward in life? We're always pursuing our own goals. We're always pursuing our own wants, our own desires, and we can't wait to get there. And the moment we get there, there's another goal, another thing to achieve, and seasons of life just pass us by because we're always pursuing something in the future. And once we get there, once we get that goal, once we get that promotion, once the child hits that next milestone, we never stop to enjoy it because, again, we're going to the next season. But what if the prize, what if the reward isn't out there somewhere? It's not something we have to go and find. What if it's something that we're doing right now? What if it's something that we're doing and we're working for right now? What if it's not when the grind is over, but it's during the grind? What did Paul say? He said, whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. And if whatever you're doing, no matter how insignificant you may think it is, if you're doing it for the glory of God, that means there's purpose and there's meaning in exactly what you're doing. I love what Craig Rochelle says. He says this: the prize isn't what you accomplish occasionally. The prize is what you do daily when you do it for the glory of God. This is why we can be grateful in the grind. In fact, I want to ask 3 questions that'll kind of become statements of what we're going for. 3 questions today is this: what if the work is the reward? What if the work you're doing today, raising those kids, changing those diapers, grabbing that coffee, answering that phone, is the reward? What if the prize is in the process? What if the prize is in the growth you're experiencing in the work you're doing? And lastly, what if you can be grateful in the grind? What if in whatever you do, you can find meaning, satisfaction, purpose, and joy when we learn to do it for the glory and the honor of God? What if instead of despising the grind of working for your boss, what if instead of despising grading papers and driving my kids all over town and answering telephone calls, what if in everything I did it for the glory of God? What if because of that I could find peace in anything I did, I can find purpose and I can find joy because I'm honoring God right now. Look what else the Apostle Paul says in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. He says this. This is the Apostle Paul talking about himself. He goes, "For I am the least of the apostles and do not even deserve to be called an apostle because I persecuted the church of God." He did some bad things. But by the grace of God, I am what I am, and his grace to me was not without effect. No, I worked harder than all of them, yet not I, but the grace of God that was with me. What is Paul saying? He's saying, listen, I was a really bad person. I've done some horrific things. But by the grace of God, I'm someone new. I'm a new person. I am changed. I am better. And there are many of us here right now. There's many of us watching online. You, like me, have done some pretty bad things. And in some cases, we've done some horrific things. But by the grace of God, I'm not who I used to be anymore. I'm someone and something better. Paul goes on to say, well, I worked harder than all of them. Yet it wasn't me, it was God's grace that was with me. Now, what is Paul saying? Is Paul bragging? He said, well, I worked harder than all the other apostles. I'm a harder worker. Was Paul complaining? Well, I was so bad, I had to work harder. Or was Paul just stating the facts that because of the grace of God in my life, he enabled me to work hard in whatever I do? Let's look at this verse in context of what we're talking about today, right? Paul was saying he worked hard only by God's grace, and we know it by his life. And everything he did it for the glory of God. There was a time where Paul was on a ship in a terrible storm, and there was this crazy storm, and they all thought they were going to die. And he's on this ship in the storm, a life-threatening storm. And what did Paul do? Did he pray to God, say, if you let me survive this, God, then I promise to live for you? Did he complain and gripe? Did he question or fear God? Why aren't you saving me out of the storm? No, he didn't do any of that. In the storm, he didn't wait for it to get over. In the storm, he did everything he could for the glory of God. He would speak to the captain and the people sailing the ship, and he would tell them, God loves you. He would encourage them. He'd say, God's not going to let you die. He didn't wait until the storm was over, but he was grateful in the grind. He did the work. The work was his reward. When he was shipwrecked on an island for months, he didn't pray, Lord, if you ever get me off of this island, I promise I'll tell everybody about you. He didn't wish to be rescued. He wasn't found complaining and griping that being stuck on an island just ruined his plans. He was going to work hard for God, but now he can't because he's stuck on an island. Even when he was bit by a snake, he just shook it off. What did he do? He prayed for the sick. He healed many people. While stranded on an island, by the grace of God, continued to do the work God had called him to do. Paul thought, if I'm breathing, I'm still working for God. If I'm still alive, I still got a mission to do. And even while stranded on an island, he was grateful in the grind. Even when Paul was in prison, he didn't pray to be released. He didn't just wait for his trial. He did whatever he could do in prison. If all he could do was write letters, you know what? He started writing letters. You know what those letters turned into? Books of the Bible. You know what? If he couldn't write a letter and he was chained to a wall, you know what he would do? He would witness to the guy chained next to him. He didn't wait to be rescued out of prison. He didn't question God why he was in prison. But while he was in prison, he did all he could do for the glory of God. There's another time, Paul, another Christian, betrayed Paul, deserted Paul, left Paul. What did Paul do? Well, he didn't get bitter and angry and complain. He didn't let a hurt and betrayal from another Christian affect how he served Jesus. He didn't say, oh, you Christians, fed up with you. What did he do? He kept preaching the gospel. Because if whatever I'm doing it for the glory of God, then if I was doing this for myself, I don't know if I'd let go of the bitterness. I don't know if I'd get over the hurt. I don't know how I would respond. If I was doing this for myself, maybe we wouldn't deal with Christians again. Maybe we would leave the church. But guess what? We're not doing this for ourselves. We're doing this for the glory of God. And whatever it is you're doing, whether it's changing your 1,000th poopy diaper, whether you're cleaning bathrooms, whether you're ironing clothes, whether you're watching kids, answering phones, typing emails, grading papers, teaching kids who don't want to learn, investing money, fixing cars, unclogging toilets, snow plowing a driveway, a barista at Starbucks, or working at McDonald's, whatever it is, it doesn't matter if it doesn't have a ton of appeal, even if it doesn't seem like it's that important. Even in the grind, you don't have to make a lot of money. You don't have to be there forever. You can still do whatever you do for the glory of God, even if it's not that important. And you might just find that none of your external circumstances change. But something inside you changes. You just might find a joy that you didn't have before, a peace you couldn't find, and a purpose you thought didn't exist. You just might realize the work, it's the reward. The prize is in the process. And it's possible to be grateful in the grind. Now, this is easier said than done. I mean, it's easy to sit here in church and hear this message, like, that's right, that's right. But when we're in the grind, it's difficult. Why? Because there's enemies of the true reward. There's enemies we're facing. In fact, 3 enemies of the true reward is this. Number 1, it's the pillow. The seduction of comfort, right? I mean, comfort has a way of making us complacent. Is that right? You could just ask my wife. Because when I sit in my comfy chair and I got the TV on and the kids aren't around because I get to watch my show, not like their nursery rhyme show, but I get to watch my show, right? And I'm comfortable, I tend not to move as much. There's not a lot of things that get me out of that chair. I kind of stay. Sometimes I'm so comfortable, it's hard to go to bed. You just sit there. I know I got to get up early, but I'm just so. Comfort makes us complacent. What do we do in America? What do we chase? Bigger house, nicer car, all the bells and whistles, all the luxuries that were once rare have now become the norm and expected. You ever hear someone say this? Well, if I just had a little more, I could take it easy. If I just had this, I could take it easy. Do you know what? Taking it easy never changed the world. Easy never helped out your neighbor. Easy never made a difference in someone's life. Enemies of the true reward. The pillow, the seduction of comfort. Number 2, the shiny thing. The allure of constant distractions. Ding, the phone goes off. Got that notification. Boom, I'm distracted. I'm sucked back in to my phone. I mean, how about this? When you're watching Netflix, it just happened to me the other night. I'm watching Netflix, and the show ends, and you have 3, 2, 1. Next show starts. Well, I'm watching it. What am I supposed to do? It started. Right? And then this is the, you finish this series. Finally, I finished the series, It's like I had to put that thing behind me. And what happens? They got another one recommended for you. And guess what? 95% chance that you're going to give it 5 stars. You're going to love it. It must be the Lord, because in 3, 2, 1, it's starting, and I'm sucked in, right? And I don't know how they do that. It reminds me of something. It reminds me of the carrot in front of the donkey. It reminds me of the donkey always trying to get the carrot. And sometimes we act like a bunch of donkeys. Now, I won't use the old King James Version word they say. I'm not going to say that. Sometimes we act like a bunch of those, and we're just chasing a carrot that's always moving. Number 3, the towel. The perpetual temptation to quit. When marriage gets difficult, just throw in the towel. It's okay in society. It's okay to quit. Everyone gets divorces. It's okay. You don't have to work. When we can't get out of debt and something breaks, who cares? Just charge it. Let's go out to eat. I need to buy something. Now I'm depressed. Who cares? We throw in the towel. It happens all the time in Christianity. Someone comes to church, they try the Jesus thing, and they get sick. They find out their spouse is cheating. They're single longer than they wanted. Every prayer they had isn't answered. Instead of running to God, we throw in the towel and we quit on God. I remember when I used to play basketball a lot and I was in shape, I used to bring a towel with me. And I'd keep it in my bag. And I'd have this towel, and I didn't have the towel to throw in to quit. What I would use this towel was because I sweat a lot. And when I get a chance, I run to the sideline and I'd take the towel and I'd wipe off the sweat in my eyes because it helped me see what was happening. And then I'd grab the towel and I'd wipe off my hands because I needed to grip the ball. And on some occasions, I'd have to take this towel and wipe off some blood from what was happening in the game. And you can throw in the towel, or you could pick up the towel and you could just use the towel to help you keep going. You could take the towel and wipe off your eyes and help you see what God is doing in your life. You could wipe off your hands to help you grip on to work hard. And on some occasions, you might have to take the towel. Instead of throwing it in, you might have to wipe up a little blood from the grind. But you don't have to quit. Now, you might ask, well, why would I do that? What would motivate me to do that and to not quit? It's because I'm not doing this for me. I'm not doing this for my comfort. I'm not doing it for the shiny new toy. I'm not doing it, and I'm not going to quit when it's hard, because whatever we do it for the glory of God. And when we do, we will find the rewards in the work. The prize is in the process, and it's possible to be grateful in the grind. Now, culture teaches that we all need to develop something called a selfish passion, right? We're supposed to develop a passion that's about us. What do I love to do? What do I want to do? I need to develop a selfish passion. But as Christ followers, we need to develop a selfless purpose. We need to develop a purpose that is outside of us, that is for something greater. Acts 20:24 says this, "However, I consider my life worth nothing to me. My only aim is to finish the race and complete the task the Lord Jesus has given me, the task of testifying to the good news of God's grace." Purpose helps us to feel passionate about ordinary, mundane things. Purpose gives us passion. Passion often follows purpose. Let me give you an example. There's a bunch of youth in our church who volunteer to work in Forever Kids. And they practice on Thursday nights. On Sunday mornings, they get here before me. I'm like 100% extrovert, so I walk in there and I want to talk to them. They won't talk to me because they're practicing. They're quite literally sweating and wiping sweat off and drinking drinks, and they're working hard. Why would a bunch of youth be so passionate about something? Because they're doing something that has a purpose. They're serving for a purpose. And passion follows purpose. When my wife, she opens up our home to let people come over for dinner, when she makes meals for people, when she gives people things, when she works hard and she does all these things for people, why do these ordinary, mundane things give us so much passion? Because she's doing it for a purpose. Why do we have people who serve every single week, who get up early, people who work our cameras and who work our PowerPoint and who serve and they press buttons and they're willing to be outside in the cold and they're doing all these things? Why would they do that? Because there's a purpose. And passion follows purpose. 1 Corinthians 9:26 says this, "So I run with purpose in every step. I'm not just shadow boxing. I'm not just boxing air, but I run with purpose in every step. When I wake up, I know this is the day that the Lord has made, and whatever I do, whether it seems big and exciting or small and insignificant, I'm choosing to find purpose in it. I'm doing this for your glory. I'm not running like a man running aimlessly, but I'm running with purpose in every single step. I'm directed by your Spirit. I'm empowered by your word. I'm loving people everywhere I go. When I walk into the room, the Spirit of God walks into that room with me. I'm a climate changer. I'm a people lover. And when I come into a dark room, light comes into the room with me, because the same Spirit that rose Christ Lord Jesus from the dead is inside of me. And wherever I go, I walk with purpose. I have a reason I'm there. And when I start to walk with purpose, when I start to serve people with purpose, passion begins to follow. And all of a sudden, the reward is in the work. The prize isn't something out there to attain. It's in the process. Whatever you do, do it for the glory of God. When you're driving your kids all over town, do it for the glory of God. When you're preparing for grad school, do it for the glory of God. When you're fighting for your marriage, do it for the glory of God. When you're praying to have a baby in tears and you can't conceive, keep praying for the glory of God. When you're caring for your aging parents, when you feel like you're called to do something more, but you're stuck at a job that you just don't love, do it for the glory of God. When you're battling cancer, when you're paying down debt, do it for the glory of God. Because everything I do with purpose. I step with purpose. I'm not just boxing in the air, but I'm walking with purpose. And let me tell you something, passion follows purpose. The prize, it's not out there. You're not missing it. The prize isn't when you get the fancy car. The prize isn't when you go to the beach or to the mountains or to Disney World. The prize isn't when you fulfill your 5-year dreams or when you get discovered or you finally make the big bucks. The prize is now. The prize is here. This is the day that the Lord has made. And because of the grace of God, only by His grace, I can rejoice and be glad in it. You see, life isn't about me. Life isn't about you. It's not about indulging ourselves. It's not about treating myself. According to Jesus, it's about denying myself. But when I deny myself, something happens. I begin to find purpose in everything I do. I don't just walk aimlessly, but I walk with purpose in every step. How? How is that possible? It's only by the grace of God. It's only by the grace of God that whatever grind you're facing right now, you can't do it on your own. But by the grace of God, I am what I am. And you are what you are by God's grace. And we could be grateful in the grind. We could walk with purpose in every single step. So today, whatever you're facing, whatever you're working through, whatever you're battling, whatever is so difficult and painful and it hurts and there's questions you just don't have answered and there's frustrations that it just aren't going away, maybe instead of working for the next season, you ask God for that grace to be grateful in the grind. And no matter what you're called upon and who you're called upon to serve, you do it with purpose. Because you're not doing it for yourself. We're doing it for the glory of God. This morning I want to pray before we sing a couple more songs. And maybe like you, maybe like me, there's some of you who've lately have lost this focus. We kind of stop doing things for the glory of God and we just fall for the trap of comfort, of the shiny thing, of the towel. And maybe you want to come back to Jesus this morning. You say, God, help me to live for you. I want to pray for you, whether you're here or you're online. Lord, I just pray for those of us who have kind of lost track of what you've called us to, who've just found it so much easier to complain and gripe and wait for the next season of life. Lord, I ask us, help us wherever we are to do it all for the glory of you, God, to honor you in everything we do, no matter how big or insignificant we might think it is. Lord, help us to live for your glory, whether it's serving our family or serving our boss or working long hours. Help us to do it for you. Help us to walk with purpose in every step. Forgive us for thinking it's all about me. And help us, Lord, to live a life you called us to live. In Jesus' name.